TKO is making moves, and these moves, I might add, are very strategic. These dudes ain't playing. Billion-dollar deal after billion-dollar deal after billion-dollar deal. These people are making money left and right across multiple different platforms. This is great for TKO and smart on their end, but I will say this can affect a lot of other promotions out there, primarily non-TKO wrestling promotions and MMA organizations, especially AEW. What's up? I'm yours truly, Flamin' Ricky DeRays, and this is my reason on how TKO might affect AEW in the future. Before we get into all this craziness, please make sure to like and subscribe to the WrestleHavoc channel right here on YouTube, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and as the friggin' referee would say, ring that damn bell for more notifications. If you guys haven't checked out the most recent episode of the WrestleHavoc podcast, in which I talk about Karrion Kross, the new ESPN WWE deal, and the new UFC television deal, the link will be in the description below. I definitely recommend you guys give it a watch. But without any further ado, we gotta talk about TKO. Because again, as I stated at the top of this video, TKO has been making some very strategic moves, and they're very smart moves, I might add. Say what you want about TKO, and trust me, there's a lot of negative things that you can say about TKO. These people are greedy, these people are money hungry, and they don't give a damn. They will literally make money off of the most basic thing ever. I mean, for God's sakes, these people will be sponsoring tables. Imagine that. This table has been brought to you by Slim Jim. It's crazy. What's next? This chair is going to be sponsored by Backass? I have no idea. That's just me playing around. But a lot of people have been criticizing TKO for a lot of reasons. Not only when it comes to the constant amount of sponsorships, but also the fact that they keep outpricing a lot of their fan base when it comes to selling tickets. And let me tell you, some of these prices for these WWE and UFC events are absolutely insane. And honestly, if you don't like their motives, honestly, you have every right to feel that way. Because again, these people don't care about you. They only care about the dollars that go into their pockets. But I will say this, if there's anything good that I can say about TKO, is the fact that they are literally the masters when it comes to the art of negotiation. I mean, this week alone has been a very historic week for not only the WWE, but also the UFC. Of course, the WWE last week announced their deal with ESPN, which starting in 2026, ESPN is going to be airing all of the WWE premium live events. And just yesterday, the UFC announced a $7.7 billion deal with Paramount. And get this, you are no longer going to have to pay $80 for a UFC pay-per-view. Now in its current format, you have to pay for not only ESPN Plus, but you also have to pay the actual price for the UFC pay-per-view. So you have to pay twice. But once this new Paramount deal starts, you only have to pay for Paramount Plus, and that is it. You get everything. You get the UFC pay-per-view, you get all of it. It is a very historic deal, especially for the UFC. It is, if you really think about it, effectively killing the pay-per-view business. Now, when it comes to the WWE and ESPN deal, a lot of people are kind of 50-50 on it. According to the press release released by WWE, ESPN, a subsidiary of the Walt Disney Company and WWE, part of TKO Group Holdings, today announced a landmark rights agreement as ESPN platforms, including the new ESPN direct-to-consumer streaming service, will become the exclusive United States domestic home of all WWE premium live events, including the two-night cultural phenomenon WrestleMania starting in 2026. This deal makes ESPN home to the highest profile events of the year. Now, initially, when I got this news, my first thought was, here we go, they're going to start charging you for these PLEs. But if you really take into consideration what you're going to be getting with this new deal, it is actually a good deal if you really think about it. Because this new ESPN app is not ESPN Plus. This new direct-to-consumer ESPN platform is essentially you paying the $30 and you literally get everything ESPN. So I'm talking about all of the ESPN networks, ESPN, ESPN2, ESPNU, you get my drift. And you get all of that ESPN content, including the WWE PLEs. But think about this, if you already have a cable provider, in which I assume it probably already has ESPN, you do not have to pay the $30. Essentially, you're getting that WWE PLE for free. You just got to put in all your cable information and you're good to go. I know a lot of people were upset about this new deal, but honestly, it was expected. Now, on the UFC front, the UFC is coming to Paramount Plus and CBS in 2026. The company agreed to an astounding 7-year, $7.7 billion contract with the company, Dana White and Paramount announced yesterday. In a quote by Dana White, he stated this, and I quote, "This historic deal with Paramount and CBS is incredible for UFC fans and our athletes. For the first time ever, fans in the US will have access to all UFC content without a pay-per-view model, making it more affordable and accessible to view the greatest fights on a massive platform. This deal puts UFC amongst the biggest sports in the world world. The exposure provided by Paramount and CBS networks under this new structure is a huge win for our athletes and anyone who watches and loves the sport. Now, the title of this video is called How TKO May Affect AEW in the Future. AEW, of course, is WWE's biggest competitor. WWE would like to tell you that they are not competition, and whenever they are asked that question, whether that is either Nick Khan or Triple H, the most common answer that they tend to give you is everybody's our competition. Television shows, reality shows, everything's competition to us. Meanwhile, when they say AEW is not competition to them, they start making these crazy moves behind the scenes. For example, putting a main roster PLE head-to-head against All Out. I mean, come on, let's be honest. They're doing everything that they can to sabotage AEW. But if you really think about it, when it comes to these deals that TKO is making, you gotta understand, TKO has two media conglomerates. They got both the WWE and the UFC under one roof. And they're negotiating a lot of these different deals across multiple different platforms. WWE, of course, has multiple television rights with Netflix, NBC Universal, the CW, and now for the PLEs, ESPN. The UFC is now going to Paramount. WWE has a deal with Tubi, which is owned by Fox. They're literally spread across multiple different platforms. AEW, as of right now, are on Warner Brothers Discovery. And late last year, they announced a multi-year deal with Warner Brothers Discovery, and the deal is roughly worth around $170 to $185 million per year. So Dynamite and Collision are both on TBS and TNT, but also you're able to simulcast those shows on the HBO Max streaming service, which is a great deal for AEW. This is not me saying that AEW is not going to be around soon. AEW is going to be around for a long, and I mean a long period of time. But the real war is regarding their media rights, because media rights, if you really think about it, is really the norm when it comes to wrestling. That is essentially the bread and butter when it comes to the entire wrestling industry. You know, back in the day, wrestling used to be all about ticket sales, and that is it. And it's still important in today's day and age when it comes to wrestling. But a lot of the money that these companies make are based off of their media rights deals. And that is what people need to understand. Andrew Bay Dallas, somebody who has great knowledge when it comes to the media rights talk in terms of wrestling, tweeted this out, and I quote, "This is quote unquote the real war. The majority of the IWC and reporters were so focused on the spectacle of which talent was moving where, who was jumping to WWE or AEW, and the ever-changing ratings landscape. They believed that this was the essence of the quote unquote wrestling war. However, the real battle has been much quieter and has played out behind the scenes among executives and decision makers. WWE and TKO recognized AEW as legitimate competition, and their strategy reflected that acknowledgement. Rather than just reacting to ratings or talent acquisitions, they took a broader approach by expanding their brands such as the WWE and UFC across multiple media and streaming platforms. This tactic effectively closed off potential revenue streams and viewership for their rivals, limiting avenues where AEW could grow its product and audience." Andrew Bedell continues on, "The actual quote-unquote war involved strategic partnerships, media rights deals, and global distributions, all aimed at ensuring WWE and its affiliates held the upper hand in the industry. TKO's decision to diversify its offerings across multiple various platforms showcased a proactive approach to maintaining dominance in a crowded marketplace. While AEW has undoubtedly carved out a significant niche and isn't going anywhere, it's crucial to recognize that TKO/WWE were actively aware of this competition. Strategies they've employed may not always be visible to the general fan base. Still, they are indicative of an industry actively shaping its future while navigating the complex landscape of sports entertainment." That was a whole tweet by Andrew Bay Dallas. Shout out to Andrew Bay Dallas. He was spot on with this comment. People need to understand that AEW is not only just competing with WWE. AEW is competing with TKO. And if you compare the conglomerate that is TKO and AEW, yeah, AEW is a relatively big company, but if you compare it to TKO, I mean, TKO owns both the WWE and UFC. Again, as I stated earlier, two media powerhouses. And as Andrew Bay Dallas stated in this tweet, the real war is not really when it comes to who has the better show or what talent is going where. It's not the 1990s anymore. The real war, if you really think about it, is more behind the scenes and the constant negotiation when it comes to these television deals. Look at WWE. They have a $1 billion deal which airs Raw on Netflix, a multi-million-dollar deal with the CW that airs NXT, NXT, a multi-billion-dollar deal with NBC Universal that airs SmackDown but also Saturday Night's Main Event. Currently, as it stands, they also have a Peacock deal which expires, I believe, by next year, and that's where the new ESPN deal takes into effect, and also an ESPN deal which is worth over $1 billion, which essentially ESPN is paying them $325 million annually. And on the UFC front, you have this new deal with Paramount, which is worth $7.7 billion. And the thing to take into consideration is that with WWE and the UFC both having multiple deals with all of these different platforms, it eliminates AEW from possibly negotiating with many of these networks, because again, they probably have exclusivity clauses in these contracts. And it's not just AEW, it's other MMA promotions as well. I'm talking about the PFLs of the world as well as One Championship. This affects everybody that is not the WWE and UFC, and that is really what people need to take into consideration. It is a very smart competitive tactic on TKO's end. Now, again, I'm going to say this right here and right now. I don't think AEW is going to go anywhere. If anything, they are going to be around for a very, very, very long time. I'm just saying once this current deal is up, which is probably, I believe, in 3 to 4 years, it's going to be a little bit harder for AEW to negotiate with a lot of different platforms about a new television deal. Who knows? Maybe they stay with Warner Brothers Discovery. But as it stands right now, Warner Brothers Discovery is not in a good place from a financial standpoint. So maybe AEW would want to negotiate with other platforms. Why'd you think they signed that deal with Amazon Prime for their pay-per-views? It was a smart move on AEW's end. But TKO making these media rights moves is not only huge for the industry, but also can affect all these other promotions in a big way from a negotiation standpoint, because it eliminates the possibility of having deals with these platforms. The next couple of years are going to be very interesting when it comes to the media rights with these organizations. But even though we hate TKO, and trust me, I'll be the first one to say TKO is money hungry, you gotta admit these people are very smart at what they do. I've always said this, Nick Khan has been one of the most, if not the most important hiring that WWE has made, probably not even in the last 10 to 20 years, probably in their entire history. Because Nick Khan, who is the current president of WWE, has literally been making groundbreaking deal after groundbreaking deal after groundbreaking deal. WWE wouldn't have gotten the Fox deal if it wasn't for Nick Khan. WWE probably wouldn't have gotten the Netflix deal if it wasn't for Nick Khan. And they probably wouldn't have gotten that new ESPN deal when it comes to their PLEs if it wasn't for Nick Khan. And don't even get me started on the UFC front, man. This whole new UFC deal is insane. But we have to be honest, man. Nick Khan has been making moves. TKO themselves have been making moves. And it's going to affect a lot of these other promotions in a big way, good or bad. But yeah, that was my thoughts on how TKO could affect AEW in the future. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, push that bell for notifications, and be on the lookout for more videos right here on the WrestleHavoc channel, which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and as the Virgin Referee would say, ring, ring, ring that damn bell for more notifications. And as always, it is yours truly, Flamin' Rick Ricky Therese, signing out. I'll see you guys all in the next video. Peace.